So what you see here is an oversimplified version of glycolysis, where glucose goes through several steps before it gets converted into pyruvate. The set of balls that you see by glucose and pyruvate are demonstrating the number of carbons in this molecule. So for example, the glucose is just 6 carbon molecules and you can see 6 balls there. So by the end of the process that you're seeing up until pyruvate, you get 2 3 carbon molecules. So you get 2 pyruvates from one glucose. And then this pyruvate can get converted into lactate, which is what happens when you exercise and the demand of oxygen is higher than the cell can get. In this situation, the cell will direct the glucose towards the production of lactate and in the process produce 2 net ATP molecules. I say net because the process from glucose to pyruvate has multiple steps, which consumes and produces ATP. And at the end, we are left with 2 ATPs. We refer to this process as glycolysis, meaning lysing glucose, breaking down glucose. So glyc meaning glucose and lysis meaning breaking down. Another scenario, in addition to exercising, when this glycolysis may occur, even in the presence of oxygen, there is plenty of oxygen, is in cancer cells or highly proliferative T cells. And these are due to some epigenetic and other modifications that these cells require to survive or do their job. Now, in the presence of oxygen, the pyruvate will enter mitochondria and get converted into acetyl CoA by pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which will then enter the TCA cycle, right, the tricarboxylic acid cycle, to produce more energy as well as other precursors for other reactions and pathways. Now, in addition to ATP, NADH is also an important outcome from the central metabolism. Now, why is it important? Because NADH is an electron carrier, meaning it carries electron energy so that it can facilitate or enable other reactions. Reactions like the electron transport chain, which is a key process in terms of producing ATP. Okay. So this whole process, starting from glucose to the end, the formation, requires glycolysis, TCA cycle, and ETC, the electron transport chain, ending with the formation of ATP, carbon dioxide, and water, which will yield a total of 36 net ATPs. So although I have shown these reactions in a simplified, digestible way, these reactions contain multiple and complex steps, and we will learn about these in this course. The location of these reactions are also different inside the cell. So for example, the reaction I boxed 1 on the left is carried out in the cytoplasm. You can see that in this illustration of the cell on the right of the screen. The second reaction I boxed 2, which is the TCA cycle, is carried out in the matrix of the mitochondria. So matrix meaning the space inside you see in the mitochondrion illustration. And the electron transport chain, which I boxed 3, is carried out in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So I'm going to zoom in to make this a bit clearer. So mitochondria has 2 membranes, that is the outer and the inner membrane, and both have their own functionality. When we are talking about respiration and electron transport chain, we are focusing on the inner membrane. Now let's learn about these reactions one by one. First, our focus will be on glycolysis, and as you can see from this equation that glucose produces two pyruvate molecules. This process consumes two ATPs but produces four ATPs. And this is done by combining four ADPs, so adenosine diphosphate. This molecule has two phosphates. So we add two organic phosphates in addition. Okay. So an ADP molecule becomes an ATP molecules when we add a phosphate onto that. Additionally, NAD plus, a coenzyme that serves as an electron acceptor, is converted into two energy-containing NADH coenzymes. The NADH that is produced in this process will be used later to produce ATP in the mitochondria. So in summary, one glucose molecule generates two pyruvate molecules, two high-energy ATP molecules, and two electron-carrying NADH molecules.